Greetings, my name is James Curtis Geist. Welcome to Teachers Anonymous, and I love my teacher ties. So thank you for tuning in. Um, Today I'm sharing about belief principles, a belief principle that I had at Park West High School, a couple stories, and then the smaller school movement that was happening. I think it was about 2005. So my principal, and I'll name him. His name was Jose Cruz, and he had trouble hearing in his one ear. So I think that could be part of the problem, that he couldn't always hear what you were saying, maybe misinterpret what you were saying, to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he came in and observed me, and I'll be honest, when I first started, it was very hard. I didn't like being observed. I didn't like getting it's called constructive criticism, but there is criticism in it. And I had to learn how to not take it personally, to understand that it was professional, and really depended on the attitude of the AP. If it was about helping the kids and helping me, then awesome. You know, if you can show me how to be a better teacher, how to help the kids, then I'm in favor of that. But some APs were just unhealthy, and it was about gotcha. Ooh, I gotcha. I gotcha. And, you know, when you make people feel shame or stupid, it doesn't help morale. It definitely does not help teacher morale. So here's my story. So he made some recommendations for me, and I said, well, why don't you come to my class and show me how to do it? And he said, well, I'm not going to do that, but you can come to my class. I'm like, okay. So I sat there, and the first thing you're supposed to have the aim on the board. That's the objective of the lesson, what you're going to know by the end of the class, and that has to be on the board. If anyone walks in, any administrator walks in, and you don't have an aim on the board, that's an automatic unsatisfactory rating. Well, he never wrote down the aim on the board. And then the do now is kind of like the hook question to arouse interest. You'll ask maybe a why question, or give me 2 or 3 reasons for X, Y, Z. But it's about the topic, to kind of get the kids thinking about what you're going to talk about. And you're only supposed to spend 5 minutes on it. So you throw the question out there, then that's your time really to take the attendance, and then you answer the aim question, and then move on into the lesson. Well, he spent 10 minutes on the do now instead of 5 minutes. And then during class, there were 2 kids in the back. They were reading sports magazines. This is before there were cell phones. And then there was one young lady. She had a handheld, like, Nintendo game that she was playing. And he never really addressed it. So I wrote up a report, and I gave him a copy, just like assistant principals do to teachers. And so then later in the day, I got called to the principal's office with the union rep, and they said, why did you write this report? And I go, I don't understand. I go, he told me to come and observe him. I said, when I get observed, I'm given a report. I said, so I just gave him the notes that I took during the lesson. And Mr. Geist, you are a teacher. You are not a supervisor. That is not your job. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll never do that again, which I never did. But when I left, the principal and the union rep looked at each other, and they started laughing. So they knew that I got this AP. The guy was getting on my case. And people was like, oh, he's such a nice guy. And I'm like, you know, he's not really nice to me. I'm like, I wish you could be a mouse in the room or a fly in the wall, because he just really was not nice to me. And then I had another incident where I needed books for my class. And, you know, you could be in 2 or 3 different classrooms. I'm teaching, I don't know what I was, something, U.S. history, world history, economics, whatever. I needed a class set of books. So he taught 1 period a day, and I was a dean during that period. So I wasn't teaching, I was free. So he had the key to the book room. I asked for a set of books, and he just hemmed and hawed, and he wouldn't give me a set of books. So when he taught, I went in there and I grabbed a set of books. I got a book cart, and I threw the books on there. And they weren't a new set of books. They were an old set of books. They were all covered in dust. When I got into my room, I had to clean all the books off because they were so full of dust. So he comes running in my room like 2 or 3 periods later. Mr. Geist, someone stole books from the book room. Do you have any idea where they're at? And I go, yeah, they're right there. He goes, you stole books from the book room? I go, excuse me. I said, I asked you for books and you didn't give me books. I go, these kids' parents pay taxes. Those books belong to the parents and to the kids. They don't belong to you. I go, why would you not give me? Sure enough, I get called to the principal's office at the end of the day with my union rep. And so the principal asked me to explain myself. And then he looked at the AP and goes, he asked you for books and you didn't give him books for the kids? And then he looked at me and goes, Mr. Geist, you're excused. And then I saw him look, oh man, he gave the hairy eyeball to that assistant principal. So what happened was he was at our school for 3-4 years, and then I think he got another job as an assistant principal at another school for a couple of years, but then he became a principal. And then you can look this up, Jose Cruz, Daily News, and here was this article. It said, new bully principal in Cambria Heights, and his name was Principal Cruz. And if you look that up, you can see that teachers were complaining against him, students were complaining against him, and parents were complaining against him. So all those people that I worked with, they're like, oh, he's such a nice guy. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Nice Guy. I said the newspapers call him the bully principal. So so that's my bully principal story. And then the smaller school movement. So this was Mayor Bloomberg. So actually, yeah, this is in 2001. So I don't know why the mayors in New York City always hire school chancellors that have no experience in education. That's never made sense to me. If you want someone to run the school, shouldn't they have been in the public school system to understand how it works? So Joe Klein was this person who was the chancellor, and they were selling this idea that we need smaller schools in New York City. Like that was the salvation of changing education in the city. So Bloomberg donated, I believe, $100 million. And then this was interesting. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation donated $50 million to the smaller school movement. Now, it turns out that Klein was an attorney. Klein was the guy who sued Bill Gates that over Microsoft being a monopoly. So that's so interesting that they went from combating each other in the courtroom to actually working with each other and creating smaller school movements. And so there was this guy, Jack Welch. He was the CEO, I think, for General Electric, and he was always saying you always have to fire the bottom 10%, and we need to bring a corporate model to education. And so they created this leadership academy where they trained principals and assistant principals. And here's the kicker, that most of these people didn't have any experience in education. So they had no idea what it was like to learn classroom management, how to put lessons together. They just had this idea, this theory of how education was supposed to be, and then they're going to come in and judge teachers with this new system of evaluation. And they did. They created, I don't know how many, I think they created 200 small schools throughout New York City. So, but really, so I don't know how many administrators you have at each school. Let's say that you have a principal and 2 assistant principals. That means that you're hiring 3 times 600 new administrators. Wouldn't it be better to take that money and invest it in hiring more teachers to create smaller class sizes? But no, this was, and really, the thought was in the union, the teachers union, that they were trying to bust the teachers union. And so, well, okay, they tried this in 2001. Now it's 2026. Did it really improve education in New York City? I mean, they keep coming up with these ideas, and then you don't hear anything more about it. Then they come up with more ideas. And so These corporations get this money for these new ideas, and I don't know. I watch all these shows where they talk about improving education, and you know who's never on the shows? Teachers. Why do they not invite teachers on all these programs who have lived it and have ideas? But so that's my story about the bully principal at Park West High School, and that's my story about the small school movement. As a result of that, I had to move from Park West High School up to a school in Washington Heights, and they gave me a transfer paper, and then they never even informed the school. I showed up, and they're like, "Who are you?" I go, "Oh, I'm sorry, here's my letter." And so my beginning at the High School of Health Careers and Sciences High School didn't start out good because the principal and assistant principal were mad, but they shouldn't have been mad at me. I'm just the worker. I didn't make the decision. I was sent there by the Board of Ed. And, another thing about Park West was we used to get a lot of pressure, your school isn't performing, but we were the dumping grounds. Like, schools that wanted to improve their scores got rid of their worst kids, and they always got transferred to our school. So our union rep used to say, really, all our teachers should be given medals or pins or given some type of reward, because we were dealing with the kids who struggled the most academically. And our union rep used to be in the Peace Corps over in Africa, and he would always say that teaching at Park West High School was like the Peace Corps, that it's the toughest job that a person could love. And really I did, because the chapter union is the strongest chapter union I ever worked for. The teachers had each other's backs, but we also were working with the administration to make improvements in the school. Like, kids were roaming the hallways, and we came up with an idea that what we would do is at least once a day do a hall sweep, and we created a room where we would put these kids in. So if someone was being disruptive in a class, they were sent to this room. If kids were roaming the hallway, they would be sent to the room. And that was a practical way of making things better for teachers and for the kids who wanted to learn. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. God bless you, all humans and ETs. All my books are on Amazon, and God bless you.